welcome back to Build with the Boys. We've now got issue 49 of Hachette's Build the Titanic, which is the first of 4 we got this month. We're going right up to 52. There's not loads to do. There's a lot of small detailing that we're doing in these, but it's going to make a big impact. So even though there's not a lot, it's not that in-depth for us to do. It is going to make a very significant impact. There is a fairly massive lump of deck that's going to be added to this one. But mainly what we're going to do is we're going to soften LEDs, we're going to be adding reflectors to this, we're going to be adding a few more lifeboats, a couple of the smaller lifeboats, the cutters are going to be here as well. So that's what we're going to do. And because, as you can see from my very lovely heart and balloon display, with it being the month of February, it is very much Valentine's month on the channel, our Titanic talks will all be focused around love stories of the Titanic. And we'll be talking at the end of this video about love of the sea. Now, that's not love of all things aquatic. The love of the sea was an item that was on board the Titanic. It does have a love story attached to it and has gone on to influence something fairly massive in pop culture. So we'll talk about that at the end, but for right now, let's get 49 open and let's get this done. So here is everything that comes in 49, quite a lot. So we have this very large piece of the decking. We have 2 more pieces of actual deck strips. We'll be attaching those. We have 2 more of these. Now I was missing these from the original one, which are going to be supports just to toughen that up. We have 2 adhesive strips. These are like a foam. We have a bag of screws, and we have this here, which, as you can see, has been cut out for the windows. So this is gonna have 2 effects. What this is going to do is it's going to work to block out some light bleed, but it's also going to reflect the light inside. So rather than it beaming out, it's going to stay in. That's the theory. So let's get this put together. So the first thing we're going to do is attach the deck strips. Now, the backing's still on this one. Before I even think about that, I test fit first. Now, these were bent when this arrived, so it doesn't fill me with confidence that they'll stay down stuck when the backing comes off. Because if I show you, see, I've already got bowing on it. So I am going to apply a very thin layer of wood glue on here just to give it something else to bind to, and then we'll get this stuck in place. So let me get that done. Okay, so I've given that a nice coat, and as you can see, you can barely see it. I want enough to bind it, but I don't want so much that it's soggy or actually does the opposite of what we're trying to achieve. So let's get this one fitted in. There we go. Let me get that pushed down. Now again, I mean, I know you're very eager to get these done, but it's worth clamping this. I'm waiting a little while. Let the glue do its business. Now, you've got to put the one on the other side, so do that first. Then clamp it up. Let it bond. Let it do its thing before you do the rest of it, you know? And you'll be all right. There we are. So that's our decking on. We'll give that a clamp. We'll give that some time to dry. Okay, so we've done the exact same again on the other side. Again, using the stairs as your guide would be my advice. You find the stairs, drop this in, it all lines up really rather lovely. There we go. It's the same again, a very thin layer of wood glue on there, just to give it some additional bond, because mine was bent. I mean, again, I've not used wood glue on every section of my decking. None of my decking is bowing or buckling. Humidity is going to play a massive part in that. If you live in a particularly humid area or country, then you need something, because I can see that's what's happening, and people's moisture's getting into it, it's bending and buckling, and the humidity is buggering up a lot of people's decking. So there we go. It's nice, you can't really see the join here at all. Happy with that. That's looking really nice. So again, I'm going to clamp it up, let it dry, and then we'll move on. Okay, so bringing in our decking from our previous issues, we're going to attach this piece to this piece. Now, space is becoming tight here, so this is going to start to get interesting, but this is where this is going to go. So it's going to touch onto there, and we're going to turn this to the side, and we're going to screw it in place with 2 AP screws. Now, when you do this, be conscious of all, particularly your cap stands down here, because what you don't want to do is turn this over, press down, and snap one. Don't want to do that. So try and get this on the side and screw it in that way. That's what I'm going to do. Okay, so you can see I've popped mine up on the side here, and what I've done is I've put 2 of the AP screws in here, and just like we did when we did this section, we've glued the 2 supports in place there. So I'm going to let this dry. That's all the work we're doing on this section. We are now going to be working on this section here. So we can pop this one away, we can let that dry because we will be coming back to that in the next issue, but we're working on this section for now. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take off our skylight there, and we're also going to take off our dome. Now, bizarrely, in all the instruction pictures, their dome's attached when they've got this on the side, even though they've told us not to glue that dome in place. I'm not gluing that dome in place. I like the fact that it's removable, and that will be the way it will be remaining. So, we're flipping this from the side, and we're going to be working on this board here and this board here, and all we're going to be doing is we're going to be covering them with these foam strips. Let's zoom in a little bit. There we go. We're covering these foam strips, and what these are going to do, these are going to dim the lights. That's essentially what this is going to do, because it's been quite bright at the moment. We don't want blazing light out of these things. You can have too much light on a model. I know this is temptation. I want every single portal lit up. Why? You can have too much light on a model. You really can. It's you know, it's bad. You want these slightly dimmed. You want a glow is what you want, not, you know, beaming light. So what we're going to do is we're going to put, as I said, we're going to put these strips over here and here. Let's get these prepped and let's get that done. Okay, so removing the backing from our strip, we're literally just going to attach this to here, and we're going to run it along the board. And that, believe it or not, is it. That's all we're going to do. That's done. We do have a second one of these to put on this one over here. So I'll prepare that strip and we'll get it done. So you can see exactly what these strips are doing. Let me show you. So if we go into this one, that's the kind of the full-on light that we're getting. However, if we now look at the one that we have added the blocker to, you can see we've got a much more subdued light. The light is still coming out the sides. We're getting a glow. So we're not getting this beaming light. We're not getting this offensive light. We're getting a glow. It's nice. Let's get this one in. So there we have that one in, and now when you plug it in now, we get the glow. We don't get the harsh light, we get the glow. And that's what we want. We want this thing to glow. We don't want it to look like a bloody beacon. So that is that part done. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to start installing these reflective strips inside of here. Okay, so this is the strip we're using first. This is strip N. I think it's going to be a tweezer job, because this thing looks like it wants to stick the second it touches down. And I'd be right. Tweezers it is. So there we go. We use our tweezers. We got that one in. They are very, very reflective, so I can see this is going to do exactly what it needs to do in bouncing that light around in there and really spreading it out. So let's get the other ones in and we'll take a look how that looks. Okay, so this is L. Now this has the window cutouts. So we have to line this one up. Again, this is a kind of, you see the static on that one, what this is doing? This really is a take your time part of the build. Christ, that's snug as hell as well. All right, let's get this done. Come on. Yep. Perfect. Okay. Let me smooth that one down. And there you go. So this reflective surface is in. We have to do this all the way around. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to crack on and get these done. If any of these seem to be difficult, I'll come back and we'll talk through it. So these are all in. Now the camera's not going to pick them up too great, I don't think, until we get the shine on. But these now all have a mirrored surface. Looking weird on camera. My eye is seeing it different to how you're seeing it. But you can see the mirrored surfaces in there. It's just fiddly. It's a nuisance job. It's not fun to do, but it's done. And that is all there's to do in this stage. I'm going to light this up and let's see what that's done. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly softened them. I mean, we've got a glow now. We don't have a beam, we have a glow. I'm going to try this one as well and take a look. So you can see the glow there. And it has killed the light bleed as well. That harsh light is not bleeding through. You can see what this very lovely glow coming from the windows now. I'm happy with that. So that's 49 complete. Again, not loads to do, but it's fiddly. This is time consuming. This with the light blocking reflective stickers, it's time consuming, but it is what it is. That's where we are with it. I like it. I like it a lot. And I think the glow looks lovely. Again, you don't want this light beaming out, because that's not... Everybody talks about realism, and they go, okay, well, have you ever seen a ship that had every single portal and window lit up at the same time? No, you haven't, because that'd be weird, wouldn't it? The other thing I think we got to take from this one is this issue has certainly taught us not to assume. There's been a lot of assumption that, oh, this light bleed's terrible. Fixed. So it's a case of just wait and see what's coming. It was kind of like with the tarpaulins last month on the lifeboats, when people are like, oh, I'll get my own. Just wait and see. Now we've got tarpaulins for the lifeboats. Now we've got the light bleed blocked. Just wait and see what's coming before you start modifying anything. Finish the model and then see what you need to mod, because you might jump the gun and spend money on things you don't want to spend money on, make modifications you can't unmod that you didn't need to do. But I mean, it's your model, you do what you want to do. But I'm just saying, I think with the part work, because there's the mystery element of what's coming and when it's coming, hang fire on what you're doing, until you know for sure that it's not coming, then mod away, But that's it for this one. If you are just kind of here for the instructions, thank you for stopping by. Please remember to both like and subscribe. If you are sticking around for our Titanic talk, we are talking about Love on the Sea, which is not, again, Love of the Sea. So it wasn't a love of all things aquatic. Like I said, the love of the sea was this. So that is the Love of the Sea necklace, which is a diamond and blue sapphire necklace, which massively inspired the Heart of the Ocean in the movie Titanic, which looked like this. So the main difference between the two is Love on the Sea is a sapphire. It's a diamond encrusted sapphire necklace. The Heart of the Ocean in the movie was supposed to be a blue diamond, and it was based on a diamond owned by Louis XIV. And I think Cal mentions how much it cost in the movie, which is nonsense, because that thing's, believe me, the diamond they're referencing cost more than the Titanic, right? It did. And I don't know what Cal was doing for a living. I believe he was working as a stockbroker or something. He was doing good. He wasn't doing that bloody good. They went a little bit overboard with how much that necklace was worth in the movie Titanic. But the Love of the Sea was a genuine necklace, and it does have a love story to it. Not a traditional love story, not a love story everyone's going to love, but a love story nonetheless. That was bought by... I'll show you her. This is who it was bought for. And this is who it was bought by. So that's Kate Florence Phillips and Henry Morley. Now, Kate was 19 years old and Henry was 39 years old, and they were eloping. So Henry himself was a married man with a child, and we are not ones to judge. We don't know what the circumstances was, but he clearly wasn't happy in the relationship he was in. He met Florence, who was 20 years his junior, and fell in love. It happens, what can I tell you? And he owned a confectioner's. He was a major partner of a confectioner's based in Worcestershire called Morley Confectionery. At the time of the Titanic sailing, he actually owned his own confectioner, his own brand of that confectioner's, Morley Confectionery, in Cheltenham, on High Street in Cheltenham. You can still go and visit to this day. That store isn't there, but you can certainly see where it was. So she started working for him part-time. They fell in love. We don't know the full backstory of their story because no one knew. This was all very secretive. But they decided that they were going to elope, and they were going to go to California, and they were going to be together. It was at a time when leaving your wife for another woman, I mean, it's never been acceptable, has it? But I mean, it didn't have quite the stigma attached to it that it does now. I think in a world where sadly divorce is more commonplace. Back then, 1912, this was a much bigger shame. So everyone thought he was going to California to recover from an illness that he'd had. That was the story. That's what they spun to everybody, but that wasn't true. He was going there to elope. They were running away together. Which there's something a little bit romantic about, I think. I mean, look, we don't know the circumstances, and again, who are we to judge? But they did very much appear to be in love. And he bought her that necklace. He bought her the love of the sea, and it was to signify their voyage across the sea to a new life. And I would imagine many a romantic conversation and pillow talk was had about the journey they were going to make and that they were going to be together. So where's that diamond now? Well, that diamond that sapphire, it still does the rounds, and you can see it at different Titanic exhibitions, and it did survive the Titanic, as did Kate. Sadly, Henry did not. Henry made sure that Kate got into a lifeboat along with the necklace, and she set sail. We don't know which lifeboat she got on, but she did get off of the Titanic, and she survived. Henry sadly did not. Henry was lost to the sea. We don't know if he was recovered. He might have been one of the unidentified bodies, but it's certainly, we don't know what happened to Henry, but we know that he didn't survive the Titanic. I'd like to say it's a really romantic story, and that's or happily ever after, but it isn't. Kate, however, found out that she was pregnant shortly after arriving in New York, and that she was pregnant with Henry's child. And again, I'd like to say there was a romantic story attached to this, but there's not. Kate was clearly very traumatized by everything that had happened. She did meet her future husband, bizarrely, on the Carpathia. So the Carpathia took them to New York. She met a gentleman on there, and it was just I don't think it was as immediate as, hey, I think it just happened to be survivors spoke to each other and as a group, and that's how they met, and they corresponded, and then eventually they did start to date, and they married in 1918, so 6 years later. Florence was very traumatized by what happened to her. Kate Florence was very traumatized by what happened to her. She did not have a happy life. She allegedly was quite abusive to the daughter that she had from Henry, and she very sadly spent a lot of her later days at the time in asylum. She was sectioned. It's very sad, but that is the inspiration for the necklace that Kate Winslet wears in Titanic. That's where it comes from. So you will hear that it's inspired by Louis the 15th diamond. It is, the diamond is. But the name of the necklace, the style of the necklace, everything like that is based on this very real necklace of these two lovers that were running away to be together. So now you know. Now you know. So if anybody ever asks if it was a real necklace, kind of. It's based on two necklaces. So, I mean, as much as creative license is taken with Titanic, they did do their research, and there's a lot in Titanic that kind of sounds like something else. And this is another example of that. But that is all for this one. So that is our first love story for Love Month here on the channel. We will be back very soon with issue 50, where we're not going to the movies this month. We will be having another Titanic love story. And we will also be building, I'm quite excited about the next piece, because this thing's going to be, it looks nice. We're getting more lifeboats and a cutter as well, which is going to be good. So tune in for that one. We will see you very soon. If you haven't yet, please remember to both like and subscribe. In a world where you can be anything at all, just be nice. In the month of February particularly, if you have the opportunity to tell someone you love them, do. And I will catch you on the next one.